Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another video. I know it's been a little while, I've been super busy with the E46, but today I have an awesome video to bring you, and that is regarding BavSound's new Revenant Pro amp. As many of you know, I absolutely love BavSound. I have BavSound speakers in my E46, I have them in my F10, and now they just came out with an awesome new product called the BavSound Revenant Pro amplifier, which is going to be a huge upgrade in any car that has Harman Kardon sound system. If you've upgraded the speakers, you already know that they sound great, but now we need a little more punch, and that's upgrading the amplifier. Before we get started with today's video, take a look at BavSound, link down below. They make some awesome products for BMW and Mini and also the new Toyota Supra. So take a look at their speakers, their subwoofers, and their amplifiers that they offer. Also, don't forget to check out my Amazon ECS affiliate link, also linked down below. And if you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button and consider liking this video. All right, let's take a look at the amp and all the components that we need to install. All right, taking a look at everything that we get in the package, we have the BavSound Revenant Pro amplifier. Look at this beefy amplifier. We have all the fuses, all the connections. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So basically fuses, these are for your power. This is if you want to add an aftermarket subwoofer. These are the profiles. We even have a tune card, which we have specifically designed for your vehicle. We have the optical cable. We have the output, which goes to the factory harness. So there's that. I was mentioning that we have a tune card, and this is the tune card. It's a profile tune designed specifically for your car. So this is designed specifically for the F10, which is awesome. We have an optical cable to adapt the MOST connector that BMW uses from the factory. And in here we have the adapter, which they call the Revenant MOST adapter, which will adapt from MOST to optical. So it's super simple. Some USB, we have some status lights, then we have the MOST connector, and we have optical and power, and along with some wiring harness that we'll have to figure out where it goes. We have a little pamphlet right here. In here is all the hardware. Taking a look at the wiring harness, we have a ASD bypasser, which is the active sound design from BMW. Basically, some BMWs will pump fake engine noise into the cabin. This will bypass it because it can cause a lot of issues, and a lot of people don't like it, so that bypasses it. We have a harness to adapt the factory BMW connector to the new BavSound Revenant Pro amplifier, which is right here. We have a beefy wiring harness, which allows for more current and amperage to go down the line. This amplifier is a lot more powerful than the factory Harman Kardon amplifier, so we need this. Pretty easy to install, I'll show that. We have a bunch of zip ties, which we'll need to tidy things up, and we have a massive fuse. It's a 100 amp fuse. Very important to have an inline fuse when you're using an amplifier. And then the last thing we have is a very nice bracket, and this will mount to the BavSound Revenant Pro amplifier to make it mount like factory. So our first step is to actually gain access to the amplifier, which sits behind this panel. So we have to take this panel out and the one on the other side, because we have to run the harness up and around. So we're gonna actually start by removing this. This just pops right out. There's two 10 mils if you have them, but I actually just removed mine on my car to make it easy to pull it out. So the first step is to remove these plastic pop rivets that run across this whole thing, and we're able to take it out. So if we just get our tool in there. Once you have that trim piece off, you're left with this plastic piece right here, and it looks like there's just one pop rivet that we have to take off, and then we have access to the amplifier. So now that you're at this point, you have access to one 8mm nut, which is right here, and the amplifier literally just pulls right out. That's all that's securing it in. I mean, it is into a bracket, so it's nice. When you pull up, comes out, and there's two connectors right here. There's the MOST adapter and a sliding one. So let's see if I can do this. MOST one's out. Actually, there's three. There's another one for power at the end. So I ended up mounting the bracket onto the amplifier just like that. There's a couple of Allen heads. I think there's 6 in total that run across it, and this allows the factory bracket to sit like that, and we can just slide it in place, and then we'll start wiring. Super easy design. And just like that, you can put that 8mm bolt back, and we're gonna start plugging in some wires. All right, so the first one we're gonna deal with is the factory harness right here to the new BAV amp. So it just slides in. It only goes in one way from the looks of it. You just match it up. And as you push in, push this piece down and it will snap it into place. And then the next thing we can do is plug it into the actual amplifier. Again, one slot only. Perfect. And we'll tidy this up after. The next thing we're gonna work on is the MOS adapter. All right, so the next step is to actually remove the little connector on the MOS adapter and put on the included BAV sound one. Now, I know it's kind of hard to see because it's short, but there is a little spot that you can put a pry tool or pick right here on this side. Put a pick and slide it out. So once you have that MOS adapter out, there's this little connector from BAV Sound, and it only goes in one way. So if you look at it, it should slide right in and click into place just like that. Now we can plug that into the MOS adapter and run the optical cable to the amplifier, which is right over here. So the Revenant MOS adapter is now plugged in. We have an optical cable right here. I actually opted for a right angle optical cable. For me, it just made sense in my setup just because everything is so tight. You don't need it. BAV Sound does include their own optical cable. I just went with my own, but we have the MOS adapter mounted right here. I didn't put double-sided tape on. I will. It comes included. We have the, can't probably see it, but we have the MOS connector plugged in and the optical cable running out. One thing, we will not be using this, so I recommend putting some electrical tape around it. We can now run the wiring harness, and the wiring harness is going to plug into this and as well as the MOS adapter. So I ended up wiring the harness. I just did it off camera just to save some time, and obviously every car is a little different, but here on the F10 we have the positive wire ran to the positive side of the battery. I actually undid the negative side, as on the F10 the battery sits in the middle where the F30 sits on the right. There's a bunch of different spots you could actually wire this up to. There's this spot right here, which is a good spot. There's this spot right here. This would have been the best one right here, except this door wouldn't have been able to shut because that's the direct power. That would have been the best spot. There's also this one right here, but I found this one right here. It seems pretty good. It's fused, so it's good. And then we have the harness coming down here where the 100 amp fuse goes. And then I ended up snaking it back this way just to get it out of the way so it's nice and clean. And it's coming up here and going right to a ground right here. And I have it sitting right on top. And then from the other side of the harness we have right here, it's going into the amplifier. There's also this cable right here that runs off that harness. I don't know if you can see it, you should be able to, but it runs off right here, and it has these three lines associated with it, and this just plugs in, this blue one plugs in right here, which actually runs off of this guy right here. So sorry, it's kind of tangled, but it runs off of this guy right here, as you can see. Maybe I'll fix that. This one I don't think is needed at the moment, so we're not going to do that. So everything's wired up. We're going to put the fuse in, and we're going to connect the negative terminal. We're also going to play around with the profile settings. I got to find out which profile I need, and we have to put in that tune card for the F10, and hopefully this all works. So let's do that, and then I'll get back to you guys. So I have everything wired up. We have the fuse in right here. We have the negative terminal attached. We have all this wired in as I showed earlier, and I did just test it and it does work. We did put in the sound card right here, and we set it to our profile. According to BAV Sound, it depends on what you have, and you can take a look right here. Sorry if that's hard to see, but I'll put a screenshot on. But basically, position 1 or profile 1 is if you have BAV Sound speakers and you want the driver seat to have more focus. Profile 2 is if you have a BAV Sound speakers again and you want a multi-seat focus, which I want, and then 3 and 4 is if you have stock speakers. So we wired it, we set it to the way we have it. We also didn't touch this sense button. I don't think it actually does anything. So I'm gonna put all this back and then we'll give you a sound test. So my thoughts on the amp. While I can't speak on behalf of how this amp would sound with the stock Harman Kardon speakers, I'm assuming it's gonna sound amazing as well. But with that being said, with the Bavsound speakers in their Ghost Sub installed in my vehicle, along with their Revenant Pro amp, which we just installed, the sound is amazing. It is much improved. It is overall an amazing upgrade for your BMW, allowing to have crisp sound. The bass sounds good, the mid sound good, the tweeters sound good, and you actually notice a difference. The bass just smacks so much harder. It's what this car needed. I feel like probably most people would agree with me, but the factory amps on BMW kind of lack a little. Even though these cars supposedly have premium sound like Harman Kardon, it lacks in the sound department, in the actual amount of sound it produces. But don't take my word for it. Let's get on to the sound comparison, and then eventually I'll come out with my full review. So roll the sound comparison. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that sound comparison. Before I close out the video, like always, give this video a huge thumbs up, consider subscribing, check out all of my awesome links down below, and especially check out the link for Bavsound down below. They make some of the best speakers for BMW Mini and now the new Toyota Supra. They're literally unmatched in the game. No one is offering what Bavsound does. It's just so simple to install. It sounds great, and you can always revert back to factory when you sell the car or leave it. It's just an awesome OEM plus upgrade, as I'd call it, for your BMW Mini or Supra.